standing up now. Bunch of jackasses standing in a circle.
Because that's what heroes do.
Hello and welcome to Maximum Marvel Drive, a Who Watches podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, specifically how it relates to Disney+. And this week we are going to be discussing The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 2, The Star-Spangled Man. But does he have a plan? We'll be discussing that. And I thought this episode was... I really enjoyed last week, but I think this was even better, and I think that has all to do with the fact that we see the two main characters interacting throughout.
Sure.
Alex, what did you think?
Yeah, I continue to be into this show. I think we had some, more of the stuff that I liked about last week. We had more of some, real world stuff. This show is tackling racism in a very head-on way, which is I'm legitimately surprised by in a Marvel Disney Plus property, in a very good way. Sebastian Stan, I think, is I'm enjoying him very much. Mm-hmm. Anthony Mackie is continuing to be great. Their banter is fun. I don't so much care about the Flag Smashers.
I can see that.
It's cutting to, it's using that as a driving plot thing, and I'm trying to care, but I don't really. We have someone to hate now. That's nice. Captain John Walker, professional douchebag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hate, we'll get into it, but I was expecting to hate him more.
Sure.
And I think this episode really instantly hits you with humanizing him and turning things around to a degree that you're you were not expecting based on how it ended the previous episode.
That's true, but we'll get into it. But
yeah.
From the way I see it, he and Cap are coming from very different places.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dustin, what did you think?
I dug it. I think we're getting into a lot of really great character beats with Bucky and Sam especially. Kind of some of that stuff that was teased a little in the first episode. And God, yeah, their little couples therapy scene alone was made this episode worth. This episode could have been garbage except for that scene, and that scene would have made it worth it. But
yeah,
the episode was actually pretty solid, and I am fine with them doing all this stuff around one really great set piece per episode. That seems like it works.
Yeah, seems to be what they're doing. Make sure that Falcon gets to fly around at least once. Yep. Use Red Wing until he gets broken.
Until he gets... Yeah, were you going to say Razor Crested?
Hey, I was going to say Razor Crested.
Oh,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, so we'll get into it. So we started with Captain John Walker in his old high school locker room. He's getting ready to go out, and he's talking to his wife and his best friend, and he goes out to be on Good Morning America for an interview.
A special nighttime edition of Good Morning America.
I was so weirded out by that.
When he...
Yeah, I'm is this so early? I'm because at first I'm well, if this is on the West Coast, then yeah, it would be really dark. And then they're no, this is in Georgia. And I'm when did they shoot this? Is this live? Was this pre-taped? What is this?
Good morning for Farmers America.
So I think this is that, that scene that I was talking about where you get to see this guy who's kind of in over his head. He is not a super soldier. He did not take the serum the way that Steve Rogers did. And he seems to be a guy who was just kind of a guy from the military who was accepted and exceeded in the military, where Steve Rogers is a guy who could not get into the military because of his, genetics, and things had to change in order for him to become Captain America.
Right, I believe it was a medical condition called being a string bean.
Yes.
That's very much it.
And I like this too because it seems like the inverse of Captain America. Because Steve Rogers pre-serum was like puny, like physically weak, but like as far as like heart and courage and all that stuff, like very driven, very determined. And John Walker, like we don't know that he's got like a bad heart or spirit or soul or any of that internal stuff, but like we know that like he's jacked and is essentially like kind of one of those special forces best of the best guys.
Right, and that's like the key difference. One of the key differences between him and Steve Rogers, which is that like Steve got to where he was because he had the heart, and because he had like the, his heart and his spirit were in the right place, and then the rest fell in afterward. Whereas John Walker is just an exceptional physical specimen of humanity and is preternaturally skilled at working with the shield and like fighting style and blah 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 blah. But like that's part of his physical self. It's not something that came from within and then became external.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, am I the only one that thinks that Wyatt Russell looks like a jacked Bo Burnham?
No, that's accurate.
Could see that, yeah.
Every time I saw him, I was like, because I just saw Promising Young Woman a month or two ago that's got Bo Burnham. I was like, I can think of like, oh, Bo Burnham hit the gym. That's exactly what this looks like to me.
Not to be a dick, but like I'm baffled by the genetics of Wyatt Russell, in that I didn't know that like a chin could be additive genetically, and that the two parents could add their chins together to form a new super chin on a child.
Yeah, this is my first time seeing him without a beard.
Yeah, the beard helps him. And it's not just like when his helmet's off, it's not like he's distracting looking or anything, but with the helmet on and it takes away his facial features and leaves just this like very massive angular jaw.
Yeah.
That almost looks like it's an underbite kind of a thing going on.
Yeah.
It's just
when
like
you add the chin strap
Yeah.
to anything, it makes it way less flattering.
Yeah. So like, I guess I just feel bad for him for the costume design.
Yeah, the costume doesn't do him, but the helmet at least doesn't do him any favors.
Yeah, the rest of it is great. I actually like the rest of the costume.
Yeah, the new redesign's good, but yeah, that helmet.
Yeah, the helmet is not flattering for Wyatt Russell's bone structure.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Sorry, Wyatt.
I like the footage that we saw of him actually going out and practicing with the shield.
Yeah.
And I was instantly like, but this guy isn't super. He's just a regular guy who can use the shield that way.
Yeah.
This seems very strange.
I'm also low-key suspicious of anyone that goes back to their hometown and their instinct isn't, I want to burn this place to the ground.
Oh, yeah. People had a good time in high school are like not good people.
Yeah, like all those people cheering at a football stadium. I was just like, I hate everything about this, and I probably hate every single person in these stands.
Oh. And I meant that as a broad joke. I don't mean that as an actual statement. I'm sure there's many people who had comfortable high school existences and are just fine, good human adults.
I want to go on record as saying Alex does not speak for my hometown. Burn Cardington, Ohio to the ground, please.
You know, I think my brother had a good time in high school, and he's a really good dude. So.
Yeah, Robin's a good guy.
Yeah. So maybe I proved myself wrong very easily.
There are exceptions.
Moving on. No, is there something else about this?
I like that the marching band was playing the Star Spangled Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought I didn't catch it until my rewatch earlier today, but I was listening to it again and I was like, this sounds. Oh, okay, that's what this is. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we get we are introduced to his friend Lamar Hoskins. And what is his alias?
Battlestar.
Battlestar.
Who is a guy?
With no
right? That's a
Galactica.
character.
It is. I had to look it up. Yeah, the major players so far or at least like the secondary characters that have been introduced this episode, are based on pre-existing characters, almost all of them. Because Battlestar's a character, Isaiah Bradley, who we get to later, is.
Oh, I'm excited to talk about that. Yeah.
And even the leader of the Flag Smashers cell that we see, Carly Morgenthau, is based on an existing Marvel.
Oh, right. I remember that's a gender swap of the Flag Smasher, right?
Yeah, okay. Carl Morgenthau.
Yeah, and then we get the cut to Bucky Barnes, and he's watching the interview, and this is another thing. I mean, we're gonna go back to the fact that it was at night, because he's watching it from his apartment or wherever he is, and there's daylight coming in, and I'm like,
yeah, maybe it was pre-taped.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
So then he goes and he angrily confronts Sam about giving up the shield to the U.S. government. And then they're about to go on a mission in the middle of a forest to track down the Flag Smashers.
In Munich, they're going to.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they do this. They have this fun, like, I actually don't love their back and forth. I like it, but it seems very, like, Marvel shticky. Like, this is what I expect from Marvel humor at this point. Mm-hmm. And I do like it, but it feels samey, kind of.
It feels, it feels like somebody trying to approximate, like, the Marvel witty banter instead of, like, somebody who actually wrote a screenplay for one of the movies.
Right.
It doesn't feel quite there yet.
No.
I don't mind the dialogue. It's more the general antagonistic attitude they have towards each other. I was like right after Winter Soldier, absolutely, I would get this vibe. I would even go up to Civil War, like getting them kind of being a little antagonistic. But at this point, it's like, all right, like, you guys are on the same side. How are you not getting along yet?
Yeah, and they're not trying to win over Steve. It's not the love triangle anymore.
Yeah.
It's still kind of the love triangle, though, because it's about, like, who is actually respecting Steve's wishes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like, that's the conflict between these two guys. Like, Steve is still the focal point of their relationship with each other.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's all about Steve.
Yeah. And then the other thing about this scene in the plane, like, Falcon jumps out because he has wings and whatever, and it's too high up or too low to take a parachute from, so Bucky's just like, heck it, and just, like, jumps out of the plane because he's a super soldier, and that's fine. But before he does, he tears the sleeve off of his nice jacket to display his vibranium arm, and it's just like, what? Why?
It makes sense that he would have, like, that he would probably need, because that's a leather jacket and you can't lift your arm up all the way if he, needs that. But also, who designed this thing? Why did they just not go ahead and create it sleeveless for him?
Right.
Pop the jacket off.
Right. So pop the jacket off, or if it's restricting his movement, tear off the other one too. Like,
yeah, go match it.
Like,
as someone who has been in the market for a cool leather jacket recently, they're not cheap.
And then, like, also, wouldn't then you want to hide the vibranium arm, like, a little bit and not give away the fact that you have, like, a super powerful cyborgy arm? It make it a little bit sneaky. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it seems like Stallone to me.
Also, if it's that powerful, if you go to move it and the leather pushes back, you're just going to rip through the leather anyway when the time comes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should make a podcast just about this topic.
Like, who are you trying to impress? The one guy on the plane that can see you do it? We know you're strong.
That's the only audience for it.
Yeah.
Because once you're on the ground and someone just sees that, they assume that's the way the jacket is. That's the way the style is. They don't think you made that decision 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
When you talked about, like, him trying to disguise it, I thought, like, ooh, they should have, like, some kind of a skin condom for his hand where he, like, puts it on and it looks like a real hand. And then we have the T2 moment where he has to cut it off and reveal the metal underneath.
We should have that moment. Wonder if they have to like take a plane as civilians or something at some point, and he has to do that.
That'd be pretty nice.
I'm waiting on the inevitable moment where somebody slaps a refrigerator magnet on him as a goof.
And this is a recurring thing in the Marvel movies where characters just jump out of airplanes.
Yeah.
Iron Man does it in Iron Man 2. Captain America does it in The Winter Soldier. And they do it in the Avengers as well. It's just like...
Oh, and in Thor Ragnarok when Banner jumps out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then hits the Bifrost Bridge. Yeah, Iron Man is literally the only one of them that really makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
Because he can fly.
Yeah, well...
just the whole sequence of him being like, I'm going to do this. And like with him and Captain America, I know they're super soldiers, but at the same time, like when did they get to the point where they knew this is okay?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
when did they get to the point where they override that evolutionary impulse to be like, no,
right.
no,
like,
no,
do
no,
they
no.
know the elevation specifically at which they can no longer jump out of a plane and survive? Like on a scale of like human to Wolverine, where do you fall on the impervious scale?
Yeah,
You know?
also Cap dove into the ocean, which a little bit better than diving headfirst into the ground.
It's true.
Like, they were low by like skydiving standards, but it was still probably at least a good couple 100 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't that low to the ground.
Yeah. So they attempt to stealthily ambush the group of flag smashers. Red Wing's heat vision discovers that there is a hostage in a truck, so it prompts them to chase the transports, which leads to this big fun action sequence.
Yep. Leads to Bucky getting kicked in the chest by a tiny European girl.
As one does.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, when we were watching it took me a second, because, like, he just runs in front of a truck in plain view of the driver and jumps into the one. I was like, they're not doing anything about this. I feel like maybe it's a trap.
I was very confused by that moment when he was first getting into the truck and was just like in plain view of the second truck. I'm like,
Yep.
But now this guy's just gonna try to hit you. You've just revealed your presence immediately.
Yep.
And was she riding back there as, I guess, protection? That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we find out they're transporting vaccines, it's a weird thing to watch right now.
Yeah,
It is.
I definitely. As soon
That
as he
felt
said
very
that,
on the nose.
I was like, oh, vaccines, oh no.
But is it vaccines or is it super soldier serum?
I think that's what it is. I think it's disguised as vaccines.
Right. I've been watching the Ryan Airy Screen Crush like Easter eggs videos every week, like I have been with WandaVision, that's where I was getting all the Mephisto theories, because that's where people were pointing them out.
Yeah.
But there's power broker theories now about this show.
I've been hearing that as well.
Well, and they even mention him by name.
Oh, do they in this one?
If they don't call him the power broker, they call him the broker.
Okay.
I think there is a pretty clear reference to him when they're at the airport later on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is right.
But yeah, now I'm curious, like, if it is super soldier serum, then what is the goal? Like, it seems really silly to just give everyone on the planet that.
Well, it's the same goal as the bad guy in The Incredibles, right?
I was about to say, when everybody's super, nobody is.
See, but I'm really confused how that aligns with what their alleged mission is. About, like, trying to make things the way they were before the blip. And I was like, I think there's a lot more information we still need about the Flag Smashers.
Yeah.
Maybe if they like the blip, maybe the people who are getting the serum are everybody who was alive throughout those 5 years, and they're specifically not giving it to the people who were blipped out, and hopefully eventually evolutionarily they get wiped out somehow, or there's something else hidden in these serums.
Oh, that's a real hurry up and wait of a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that could be like any of these could be valid. I mean, we're only a third of the way through this show at this point, so they any minute it could like pull a complete 180 and be something else. It's really muddy trying to piece their motivation together, because I've seen a couple people like in my feed who have been like trying to say, I was like, how are these guys the bad guys? I was like, it's the pieces are there. You got to kind of read a little more between the lines, but like as far as their actual motivations, it's still kind of a little muddy with what they're doing.
Yeah.
I was like, if this is the case, like, why aren't you destabilizing like world economy? Like,
Right. Why aren't you Tyler Durdening everything?
exactly. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
It's. Yeah, I'm very curious to see where this goes. Like, I trust them completely to pay it off and have it make sense. And just, yeah, this is like, this is a pretty straightforward show, but I feel kind of confused with motivations.
Yeah, it's
for the bad guys.
also weird because the Harley Morgenthau character is played by Erin Kellyman, who was Enfy's Nest in Solo.
Yeah.
And she is doing very similar things that she did in Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And they are revealed to be the start of the rebellion and good guys. So you want to be like, they're rebelling and they're going to end up being, standing for, the side of right.
Right.
But
The last time she was in a Disney property.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but this is a fun action scene, and then it gets bombed by friggin' Captain Chin and Battlestar just
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and you're like, oh come on, I hated these guys so much in that moment. But John Walker had some moves.
And they came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting them, which I was like, this is very hard to do with a helicopter in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you can hear and see a helicopter from miles away.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they were on top of a truck. If there's one thing that I learned from the Archer train fight episode, it's that it's hard to hear when you're on top of a fast-moving vehicle.
That's true too. I've never been, so I don't know exactly how hard, but I imagine that's accurate.
Yeah, I have to imagine that it looks fun, but I can't imagine doing it as a.
Oh, it
as
looks like a
good time.
nightmare. It looks like my worst nightmare.
Well, you don't want to fight on top of a semi-trailer?
No.
It's going
I
down
want
the
to be in
highway?
a different vehicle on a different highway. Inside. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have more thoughts about this scene.
I know that when Falcon swooped down and saved Bucky and they rolled and tumbled into the meadow together, my immediate reaction was to scream "kiss."
Yeah.
John Walker throwing the shield underneath Hoskins, I think is his actual name, right?
Lamar Hoskins.
Mm-hmm.
Under Hoskins to keep him from dying by hitting the pavement. That was a pretty good move.
Yeah, that was a great move.
I like that.
Also, halfway through the fight, I just said out loud to myself, "These are just normal guys."
Yeah.
Fighting
I don't
super
understand
soldiers.
how they're
Like,
exactly. The only person who should stand a chance is Bucky, and he gets taken out pretty early.
yeah, like he's
Well,
the one most qualified.
I mean, maybe these guys are also,
We just don't know, I
Maybe
think.
they have the serum and we don't know.
That could be.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, and Walker with a gun. I was like, we haven't seen Cap with a gun since the 1940s.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another way in which she is different than Steve.
Yeah. I also heard somebody commenting that he's throwing the shield at the back of people's heads, which is something Steve would have never done.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty lethal move.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, then they're out on the road, and Barnes deduces that the Flag Smashers are enhanced by the Super Soldier Serum, and Walker shows up and offers them a ride to the airport, which they reluctantly accept.
Yeah, we have the exposition-y scene where these dudes all learn about each other, which ends by Bucky being, like, basically rolling his eyes so hard at the idea of Battlestar as a name that he stops the Jeep and leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because
like,
you can't hear the name Battlestar and not put Galactic after.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that was the point of the conversation where he's like, no more.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, your name is dumb. I'm out.
Yeah, and we get John Walker, like, going on about himself, which makes sense.
And really pleading to Sam that he wants, Steve Rogers a wingman, which that's where Sam's like, oh, I had to add that last line.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, dick.
so then from there, go to the airport, and Bucky takes Sam to Baltimore, where they visit the home of Isaiah Bradley, a super soldier whom Barnes fought during the Korean War as the Winter Soldier.
So, this is a great scene. This is probably my favorite scene in the episode. Like this whole, like, it's three scenes really. It's before they're in the house, it's when they're in the house, and it's a scene after they're in the house. And before they're in the house, we get this moment of two kids, and they recognize Sam. And it's like, hey, you're Black Falcon. He's like, just Falcon. It's like, my dad calls you Black Falcon. He's like, is it because I'm black? Well, yeah. And it's funny and it's cute, but it's also, it's this thing where, like, Sam is trying to not be just, like, the Black Avenger. He's just, the way he sees himself is he is the Falcon. He is an Avenger, and that's the way he wants other people to see him. But the show is, like, directly confronting the fact that, like, he is the Black Avenger. From the United States, Black Panther, him notwithstanding.
Yeah.
It's like there's that. And then in the house, we get Carl Lumbly, who I freaking love Carl Lumbly. Mantis and Alias's Carl Lumbly. The man was Mantis. I don't know if you guys remember Mantis.
I do. The Fox superhero show?
Sam Raimi's Fox superhero show.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Also, Alex, you have yet to see it, but he does play a small part in the Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
He's also in Dr.
The character.
Sleep.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, but sorry, the character in Justice League.
Oh, yeah. I won't tell you who it
Okay.
is.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So he was, in the comics, Isaiah Bradley, he was part of a group of black men that were used as guinea pigs for the super soldier serum, where they were trying to recreate it. So it just goes into, like, this deep, dark, like, part of history where it's like, you draw the comparisons to, like, the Tuskegee experiments and everything.
Yeah, and integrating that into, again, a Disney Plus show. Like, there's a lot of very heavy, real things that this show is dealing with on top of its, like, fantastical superhero nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, they also have this, they kind of, like, pull the curtain back and they're like, hey, there was this, like, other super soldier / superhero who's one of the oldest, and he's a black man.
And no one's ever heard of him. And he was in jail for 30 years.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't help but, like, compare a little bit of the HBO Watchmen show, which did a similar thing with one of the characters.
Yeah, it's a good point. Marvel taking some stuff from the one good DC visual outing of the last, or since 2008. In my opinion, but I'm a cynic.
Yeah.
And then this.
So then Isaiah asks them to
please.
leave. Yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with them, which is, it's kind of interesting because, I mean, I guess they've got bad blood since they fought and everything that Isaiah's been through. At the same time, you would just kind of hope that Bucky and him would have some kind of kindred spirit, both experimented on with the super soldier serum and like kind of, you know, imprisoned in ways.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I know it's very unlikely that's the last we're seeing of him.
Oh yeah.
oh
way.
no, yeah.
I'll be very interested to see when and where he comes back.
So then we get to the scene outside where Sam's really upset that he's never heard of Isaiah before. And during this heated exchange, they get approached by the police, who ask Bucky if he's okay and if this man is bothering him.
Yeah, they're accosted by Jimmy McNulty and Bunk Moreland.
Oh, if only. I was kind of hoping, you know, they could make this a shared universe with The Wire.
David
But
Simon into the MCU.
And that's how they broke the news that Disney had acquired HBO.
Yeah, well, now then they just got all of it.
Yeah, no, then there's no more media. But yeah, like this is great. This is just like the reality for many Black people in the United States. And then of course the turn happens when they realize, oh yeah, he's an Avenger. He's okay. We should back off and apologize. You know, the privilege that comes with that kind of a status.
he's not that linebacker from the sports team,
No.
as that banker realized as well.
No,
Yeah.
the Falcon was denied a bank loan.
Yeah, and they're so persistent about it too, because like Bucky even says like, "Hey, we're fine. Like we're just talking." Like, and he even tries to talk him down, and they're still just hell bent on giving Sam a hard time
Yeah,
because cops suck.
yeah. The only good police is dog police.
That's right. And RoboCop.
And RoboCop. Always RoboCop.
And then it turns out that Bucky's the one who gets arrested
Yeah.
because he didn't show up to his latest counseling appointment.
Court mandated therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. He needs it.
Oh yeah. He's got some trauma to deal with.
Yeah.
Strong men also cry.
So they're put in jail.
So then yep, and then they get their shared therapy session.
Well, they're bailed out by John Walker.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
The government intervention.
Yeah, who's just like there smiling and waving and being a propaganda machine.
Yeah, who like at most I was irritated by him up until this point, but the second he refers to Bucky as a valuable asset, I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, man, can you like not be an army drone for a second? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm slightly a little more suspect of John Walker than I was before. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a term where like he's the big bad, but he's definitely it's just another indication that he's no Cap. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be like, you know, not an Anakin Skywalker figure in the way that like he's that significant, but like an Anakin Skywalker figure in the way that like he's generally a good guy and he's gonna go dark before he gets pulled back.
yeah.
That's where it feels like that character's headed.
Yeah.
But yeah, court mandated therapy or couples therapy.
Yep.
Yeah, because she pulls Sam into it. She's like, "You're coming too."
And she has no authority to do that, as far as I can understand.
Exactly. No.
But he goes along with it.
Yeah.
And I love that she makes it a point to even say, is like, this is what I do with couples.
Yeah, what were the two? The first, I can't remember what the first exercise was, but the second exercise was soul gazing.
Yeah, the first exercise was the miracle exercise.
Oh, right, the miracle
Oh,
exercise.
you wake up, and what's the miracle that's happened?
Right. They each just want each other to stop talking.
Yeah.
Which, I can understand like one point, but like Sam wanting the same thing for Bucky, I'm like, I feel like Bucky talks few words enough.
He mostly just stares.
Yeah.
Also, Sam, maybe the real miracle is your family's shrimping business is saved.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
miracle.
true. Wasted his wish.
Yeah.
We need to get Shaquille O'Neal and down on the line and get him to grant 2 more wishes. Come on, Kazam. The movie where it rains hamburgers.
That's what the Flag Smashers should do. Find a way to make it rain hamburgers. That'll fix a lot of problems.
Well, then it's just cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Well, it's Cloudy with a Chance of Hamburgers. It's like the Asylum knockoff of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Cloudy with a chance of lutefisk.
And the Russian version is like Cloudy with a Chance of Borscht. Would that be a thing? Would it
Cloudy
rain it?
Yeah.
Cloudy with a chance of clav collage. This
Yes.
is the podcast now. This is just us pitching new Cloudy with a chance of sequels.
International Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs sequels.
Cloudy with a chance of Vegemite.
Cloudy with a Chance of tuna roll.
Wow.
Oh,
Cloudy with a chance of haggis.
Oh, that's good.
Cloudy with a chance of what's always said.
The national delicacy of England.
Oh yeah. Oh, what a time.
So yeah, then
Couples therapy.
yeah, they got the couples therapy. They're staring into each other's eyes, touching knees.
They're interlocked, their knees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
They're like holding, like people hold hands. They were holding legs.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a great scene. 'Cause, like, I mean, I feel like we've already been getting kind of a sympathetic look at Bucky with this show, but like this especially, the moment that he says like he hates that Sam gave up the shield because it might mean that Steve was wrong, and if Steve was wrong about Sam, then he might have been wrong about Bucky in terms of like being able to redeem himself and atone
Yeah.
for all the wrongs that he committed. I was like, yeah, just an amazing emotional beat for
Yeah.
Bucky, and just a really great scene. And again, it's just testament. Like I've said this 100 times now when we were doing WandaVision. Like these characters are actually interesting when they get time to do anything but be sidelined.
Right. Totally. Yeah, I'm glad they're taking the opportunity with the show to do like actual character work with these guys and not just make it like a kick, punch, bam action show straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So yeah, then they leave the therapy session, and so as they are free agents, they decide to separate from Walker to confront the Flag Smashers. And then meanwhile, at an airport, group is loading their boxes of stolen vaccines in an airplane as authorities close in. However, a Flag Smasher sacrifices himself to buy enough time for the plane to take off.
There was no reason for that guy to sacrifice himself. He bought them like 5 seconds.
He bought them all the time they needed, but it wasn't most of that because he like downed a lamppost or something, or
Yeah, he knocked over a light pole.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they were obstructed then. They couldn't have gotten around that. All you had to do was go shove that over and jump on the plane.
right,
Yeah.
or
You
get
could've-
on the plane and like shoot a missile at it from the plane.
Yeah,
Like-
any number of things. Like, you're revolutionaries, like, you're, like, kind of terrorists. You don't have any weapons. Like, four SUVs rolling up is you're super soldiers. You're not bulletproof, but, like, you probably all could have just gone and punched those cars as engine blocks and flipped them through the air.
Yeah, the Libyans were way better prepared than this.
Yes.
Oh man, where's it at?
Yeah, it's good.
So, yeah.
It's like this is one of those is like, oh, we want to make you care that this guy sacrificed himself. It's like, who is this guy? I saw him say one world, one people once, like three
Right.
scenes back. Like,
Right.
I have no emotional attachment. Like, clearly Carly Morgenthau does, but like, we don't care about this dude.
Yeah.
Or just knock over the telephone poles as you're loading up the airplane, so it's pre-blocked.
Good idea.
They had a lot of options at their disposal, and they chose the wrong one.
Yeah, it seemed very silly. Like they're not very organized. Also,
No.
also something we didn't touch on that came up earlier when we see them after the chase is Carly gets that text from an unknown number that says you took what was mine. I'm going to find you and kill you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which now I'm really curious who that is because
It's Mephisto.
That's Mephisto for sure.
well, by the time my initial thought was Zemo, but of course by the time we get to the episode, that doesn't make any sense. Because
Yeah.
we see that he's still in captivity, which is kind of what I was wondering last episode. I was like, I know Zemo was in this show at some point, but like, is he still in prison? Like, did he get freed and then returned like as part of the blip? Like, we don't really know what his state is, but now we know exactly where he is.
Oh man, that's so true. That's another thing with the blip. Like prisoners who are blipped out and then could be free when they come back.
Yeah.
There's so many unanswered questions about the blip.
Oh man, I hope Michael Keaton's having a good time. Maybe he got blipped out of jail, out of Rikers,
Oh yeah.
and then blipped back.
Him and Michael Mando.
Yeah.
Well, didn't people blip back to where they vanished from in the first place?
They would have.
Oh, yeah,
But
you're
if they were
right.
being transported somewhere, or if that place doesn't exist anymore.
That's right, because Rambeau got transported back to the hospital room she was waiting in.
Yeah.
Oh,
So for example, like if Rikers had like been destroyed with a missile, and so prisoners who got blipped out would just reappear in the ocean and drown. That must have happened to people, right? Or
Yeah.
people that got blipped out on cruise ships.
Yeah. People who are on airplanes.
Yeah.
People.
See, there's a lot of unanswered questions here.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Ryan
People
made that
who
point
are-
a couple weeks
yeah.
ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other more obvious theory is that it's potentially the power broker who is then mentioned during this scene. And presumably is who the guy calls at the end to tell him that the Flag Smashers got away.
Right.
My initial thought was maybe it's John Walker. Like, kind of wanted it to be, but like I see him being an obstacle and not necessarily a big bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So yeah, presumably the power broker who we haven't seen yet.
Right.
Maybe that's Michael Keaton.
Ooh.
Maybe it's Sharon Carter.
Ooh.
It's
But
true.
we still haven't seen 2 episodes in. We
No.
still know Sharon Carter.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what we do get is Bucky gets the idea to go visit Zemo in prison. And so we end the episode just zooming in on Zemo in his prison cell.
I was really excited until the music started playing. I was like, we're gonna see his face and that's it. Like I was hoping we might actually get a Zemo scene this episode and then
Yeah,
It's
no,
like-
the show's really playing the cliffhanger game very hard.
oh yeah.
Wanda did too.
Oh yeah, but like Wanda, I felt like it was kind of a lost thing where it would answer some questions, but then it would give us more. Whereas
Yeah.
like this, like I just want to see Daniel Bruhl. Like I want to see Daniel Bruhl do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you want to see him sit and brood? Well, we got you covered.
Brooding Brule,
What do you do best?
playing chess with Magneto. Whenever they show a Marvel villain in prison, they're always playing chess.
Because they're all too smart to just sit in jail and draw on toilet paper.
It's true.
They need the finer things. Yeah. The toilet manifesto of of Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo. Here I sit, brokenhearted.
The Zemo story. Parentheses, a tragedy.
What's Zemo's? I know his backstory as far as why he does what he does in Civil War. Do we know like what he did before then? Just his normal life as a family man? Because
I think he was in the military.
Okay.
They give us that little bit about him during Civil War, where he was either an insurgent or part of like the militia or something like that of Sokovia.
all right, so that makes
Yeah,
sense because I'm like,
Yeah, 'cause we definitely
he's
at one point.
way too smart to be any civilian.
Yeah, 'cause we definitely see a picture of him at one point, like in fatigues with a gun. So.
Yeah. There's two other Marvel things I wanted to bring up that aren't related to this episode. So I don't want to trample over anybody's further thoughts on the episode if they had them.
I think I'm tapped out. I think that's everything I had to say about this one.
Okay. Number one,
Yeah.
Black Widow got pushed again, but is now coming out day and date on like for an extra $30 on Disney
the Premiere
Plus.
Plus or whatever.
In July, it's taken the spot that what was the other movie they had coming out in July?
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yeah, and Shang-Chi's in September now.
So
Was it
that's
July
interesting.
or June?
July.
Okay.
So that's interesting. They tried real hard to not put Black Widow on Disney Plus, but they're doing it now anyway.
Yeah.
By that point, I mean, Dustin, you're half vaccinated. I'll be vaccinated by the time the movie comes out, so I'll probably just go see that. Travis, I don't know what Ohio's doing. I have no sense of how it's going in Ohio.
Oh yeah, we should be in good shape by
Oh
then.
yeah. I think tomorrow everybody 16 and over can get it.
Yep.
Oh, great. That's awesome. It's going to be that way in California on the 15th of April.
Yeah, it's the one thing
Yeah,
Ohio
no, every
done right in
time-
the last 8 months.
Yeah. I say every time I watch one of these shows and I see the Marvel logo like pop up, I'm like, oh, I can't wait until I get to see this logo in a movie theater again.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be excited to go back to movie theaters. That's actually probably the thing I'm most excited to do.
Same. I've been real bummed that I haven't been able to go to my usual theater here in Columbus for the last year.
Yeah. And the other thing is I watched the hour-long behind-the-scenes of WandaVision special.
Mm-hmm.
Meh.
Yeah, I watched that as well.
It's
It was
okay.
fine.
I think there were some things in there that I didn't realize, like the way they did Vision's makeup.
Yeah, no, there were good bits.
I didn't realize that it's every time you see his face, it's CG, which is crazy.
I didn't either.
With how good that looks.
It does look good. I never questioned it. It's actually kind of
And-
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, when because we'll get into this, but when we were watching the Snyder Cut, and just how visually terrible some CG is in that, I'm like, how does this look so terrible? And the guy who has his face replaced with CG on this TV show looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's- oh boy. Snyder Cut.
So yeah, because I actually rewatched. I finished my rewatch of WandaVision today. I rewatched the last 2 episodes today. So I was scrutinizing the de-aging of Catherine Hahn at the beginning of episode 8, and really looking at Vision's face, and I was just blown away by how great both of those effects were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was cool to see the live studio audience in. It was cool to see the live studio setup they had for those first couple episodes.
Where they put the old timey chairs in there.
Yeah, and it seemed
So that everyone felt nice and uncomfortable,
Right.
like they would have back in the day.
and it seemed like some people even it seemed like they asked people to dress up from the 1950s if they were able to, because the audience seemed to be dressed old-fashionedly. It was cool to see those sets in color. I mean, it was fun, but it was very much just the fluffiest of fluff, and it wasn't as substantive to me as the Mandalorian behind the scenes show, just because there was a lot of rich Star Wars craft going on with that show.
Yes. No, agreed.
This was much more just like, look at this cool thing we did. Wasn't this cool? And like an hour of that. It's hard to not be totally charmed by Elizabeth Olsen, though. I will say that.
Oh yeah, like yeah, just watching her have fun and like talk about it is like, this is nice.
She seemed like, they all seemed genuine, but like she seemed like very genuinely excited about some of the stuff that she talked about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the other like tidbit too is, you know, she's one of the Olsen sisters, and she grew up on the set of Full House a lot.
Right.
So it was strange for her to be doing that style of acting and that style of show.
Yeah. Yes, that was, you know, that kind of stuff was interesting. But then, you know, it would get to stuff and just be like, yeah, Evan Peters, wasn't it cool? He was in the show, and then not address the fact that it was Evan Peters and what that meant, like at all.
What a boner!
What a boner! That scene is hilarious. Still, Ralph Boner, boner. I relate to Ralph Boner in that moment.
We're all Ralph Boner.
Yeah, those are my other two Marvel things.
Cool. All right, Dustin, you have anything else Marvel related?
No, I think that sums up all my thoughts on this episode, and nothing. All the things I'm excited about beyond what's been mentioned are non-Marvel related. So.
Cool.
We should figure out a date for the Snyder Cut podcast, because once I'm back in LA, which will be this week,
it's gonna be what you break that new TV.
It's gonna be one of the inaugural watches. It's gonna be one of the inaugural 4K home viewing experiences for me. Will be Zack Snyder's Justice League, and
really take advantage of all the screen space with that 4:3 ratio.
You know, I'm all for it.
You didn't get a 4:3 TV, did you?
No, dude. If I could have like a massive 4:3 TV, if I like whatever the size conversion would be for like a 55-inch 16:9 display, like for it to still have 55 inches of viewing angle at 178 widescreen, but stretched out to be like a 4:3 aspect ratio, where a 4:3 image could fill the whole thing, I would be so down. I would love that.
That'd
TV.
be very strange.
But I didn't sacrifice viewing angle. I'm fine with fat top and bottom black bars, just as long as like the widescreen image is still as big as it would be on the TV I have now. Just the top and bottom of the TV were significantly huger. I would like that.
All right. So with all of that, we will be back next week for episode 3 and discussion on Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I don't know which is going to come first. Stay tuned for when that will be. One of us will have seen the Justice Gray edition. I will not tell you who.
One of us is taking up the fortitude to spend 8 hours of their life watching Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That's because one of us is a hero, and that's what heroes do.
Yeah. I have heard there is extra Joker dialogue in the Justice Gray edition.
No way.
So good. One of my 5 least favorite things about the Snyder Cut. There's more of. Good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
God.
Maybe there'll be more.
I don't know why.
Scenes too. Sorry, you were saying something, Travis.
I don't. We'll get to it later. We'll get to it when we get to it. But so in the meantime, Dustin, where can people find more of your work?
DustinMeadowsComedy.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Dustin Meadows. Streaming sometimes twitch.tv/Dustin Meadows. That's where I'm at.
Cool. And Alex, how about yourself?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Alex Brunel, like it says below. If you are a person that makes movies, such as a producer or director of photography, and you want to check out my resume, check out abrunel.com.
Do it. And you can find the show. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every week where we live stream. And you can subscribe to us on any podcatcher of your choice. Please subscribe and leave reviews. Appreciate them all. Appreciate all the comments on YouTube, especially the ones, that say that blank check should not exist and that we should cover Problem Child instead. I really appreciated that comment.
I will guess Problem Child.
Yeah, let's do Problem Child. We also have to have a
that'd be fun.
soundtrack release special about Adventures in Dinosaur City, apparently, because the composer of that film commented on our YouTube review of it.
Oh my.
Yeah.
What a day.
Yeah, we'll have to schedule that sometime. And where was I? Okay, so subscribe, leave reviews, appreciate all of them. Leave feedback on YouTube, on Facebook, or at whowatchespodcast@gmail.com. And so, until next time, piss off, you ghosts.